Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I'm Reverend Patrice Curtis. I use pronouns they and them. Reverend Christine Dance, who is your settled minister, is away today, and I am here as your affiliate minister. So pleased to be with you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. A very special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. Please find a place in our sanctuary where your body can be comfortable. We have multiple seating options, a table in the back filled with art supplies, a shelf of sensory tools, and lots of space if you need to stand, stretch, or sway. Both children and adults are welcome in all of these spaces. A very special welcome to all of you joining us via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. Those of us in the room, can we turn around and wave to our folks online, remembering that we are one congregation, no matter how we are participating together today. Our opening words are the words of John Seuss from UUA's Lifting Our Voices. To be of the earth is to know the restlessness of being a seed, of being planted, the struggle toward the light, the pain of growth into the light, the joy of bursting and bearing fruit, the love of being food for someone, the scattering of your seeds, the decay of the seasons, the mystery of death, and the miracle of birth. Please join me as we recite our covenant, and our worship associate, Amy McKlindon, lights our chalice. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. Our guest musicians today are favorites here, Alice Tatum, who is stepping in for Renee, who is usually here. Thank you for that. And Nicole Pesci. Thank you both for being here.
Oh, that's the way to start a service. Thank you.
How do you follow that?
Right? You just don't. Oh, good morning, everyone. My name is Amy McKlindon, and I'm your worship associate this morning. I use she, her pronouns. I have several announcements to share. Our community is busy as ever. So a few I wanted to lift up, and you can find more about all of these in our weekly newsletter, Compass, or on our website, which is phoenixuu.org. Children's Ministry needs your help with clothing donations. With a preschool, an elementary school, and our congregation, there are a lot of kids on our campus and whom we're connected to. So please see Compass for more details. Starting today, we have Children's Ministry programming our UU Home, a program for 5 to 13-year-olds, is a series of 5 gatherings that explores the UUism that we bring home. We will sing, listen, share, and create. More information, again, is in Compass. And later this week, our Blue Holiday Gathering starts on November 16th, recognizing that for some, centering joy and celebration makes the holiday season difficult to honor the emotions of sadness and grief that may also be present. This is a series that provides a space to let go of those holiday shoulds and to move through the season with our own Reverend Patrice Curtis. Details and registration are in Compass. The UUCP young adult community is invited to a reception at the home of Reverend Christine Dance. That's on November 19th at 5 p.m. If you are questioning whether you are a young adult, you are. The purpose of this gathering is to come together as an affinity group, to get to know one another, to have some good conversation and explore an interest in having an ongoing group. And our sanctuary art team, which brings us all the beautiful art you see around you, invites you to bring in your decorations that represent your holiday celebrations. From Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Solstice, Saturnalia, all are welcome and encouraged. We will hang the decorations at the end of November, and if you have any questions, you can email the sanctuary art team at art@phoenixuu.org. And finally, Bob Davis is hosting an electric jam Wednesdays in the sanctuary. That's from, 5:30 to 7. Things may get a little loud. If you play electric guitar, electric bass, drums, keyboard, and want to jam with other folks who do, please drop by. Jam sessions will be masked, and if you have any questions, please email bobdavis@phoenixuu.org. There's something for everybody going on here. Our offering is a share the plate every week. We split our undesignated funds from the offering 50-50 with a different organization each month. For November 2022, our Share the Plate partner is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC, which is a nonprofit, non-sectarian organization advancing human rights together with an international community of grassroots partners and advocates. UUSC focuses their work on intersecting roots of injustice to defend rights at risk due to criminalization and systemic oppression of people based on their identity. They support self-determination and defend the rights of people displaced due to climate, conflict, or economic hardships. And they respond to humanitarian crises as partners with people whose access to aid is most limited. Striving to center the voices of people most affected by injustice, UUSC creates eye-to-eye relationships with frontline grassroots movements across the world that support marginalized communities in determining their steps for the future. Visit uusc.org for more information. Would our ushers please come forward? We have a variety of ways to contribute to our Share the Plate partner and our congregation. You can donate through the website. You can text UUCP STP to 73256. We'll be passing around the baskets, and you can also send in a check. If you're paying your pledge to UUCP, please indicate that on the check. For all that you give to our congregation and our partners, we are so grateful.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. See, that time I remembered to pause. I'm Katie Resendez. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. I'm going to start with a few little logistical announcements, just because I know that Amy had lots and lots of announcements to say, so we didn't try to flood her with more. If you are interested in joining our home, it is focused on children 5 to 13 and their families, but anyone is welcome to come. The 5 sessions start today, and at the completion, you will have a chalice and an altar cloth and an altar kit for your home, if you attend all the sessions. That's number 1. And to meet up, you'll hear us singing in the patio during coffee hour, okay? And number 2, you all know that we have a Navigators chapter here on campus. Navigator is like scouting and getting into the outdoors, but as a UU. It's pretty amazing. Jez, who's at the back table, has been leading it through the pandemic, and it actually started online. So only their second in-person excursion, they've had one already, the second one will be Sunday, November 20th, and it's a hike after service on our UUCP nature trail. So if you've never had a chance to check out that trail, please, please, please join us. It should be pretty amazing. And I'm going to tell a long story, so I need a longer cord. Not too long, I promise. So it's getting cold here, right? I hope that some of you have turned on your heat. All of you who are like, we don't turn it on until it snows. I'm not coming to your house. But it is getting a little bit cold. And that means something really exciting for the Valley of the Sun. It means those big, green, round, leafy trees that have those big, flat leaves, we start to get to see what's hidden under those leaves as they turn orange, because it's almost citrus season. And it's almost time to pick that fruit. And years ago, way back, long before any of us can remember, in about 2006, the space between Tempe and Phoenix, the drive on Baseline, used to be orange groves. Miles, maybe 3 or 4 miles of orange groves. And it was amazing, and it would smell phenomenal. And you would look at these round trees and see the specks of orange, and then there would be tons of orange. And then the trucks would come, and in the mornings you would see people out there picking. So Josie grew up in a family that did some of that picking. And they would work in the orange groves in South Phoenix. And it was hard work. For those of you who have done that work before, or who have citrus plants in your yard, you know that sometimes there's thorns, the branches are sticky, even the leaves can be prickly. And when you work among them and prune those trees and nurse those trees, your hands get cut up. And then sometimes the juice gets on them. And orange juice in a fresh cut hurts a lot. And it's hard work. And Josie watched his parents and his grandparents harvest the fruit, but also remembered all of those days of taking care of sick plants, covering trees with nets so that the bugs wouldn't get from one plant to another and cross-infect each other, grafting, the careful science of fitting the branches together so that the trees would grow something new and amazing. And then sometimes after that new and amazing grafted hybrid orange was picked, peeling it and being so excited about the smell and how luscious it was and tasting it, and finding out that the experiment had been a total disaster. But there were always bushels and bushels of oranges. One year, Josie sat with his grandren among those bushels, getting ready for the truck to come, waiting to load them up. And Josie said, I see all the hard work you do and everything you do that's so much to make these oranges happen. And their grandson said, in the way that a tired adult will respond to a child. And Josie said, why do you do it? Why do we work so hard? And Josie's grandson just looked at the bushels of oranges. And Josie sat for a minute, picked one up, smelled it, was a little hungry, so they peeled it, ate it, and said, oh, this is delicious. I can taste all of your hard work. All of that suffering was totally worth this delicious fruit. And their grandparents stopped. Didn't respond, but instead went, no, that's not what this is about. The sweetness you taste in that orange is from the sun and the roots and the soil and generations of harvesting and engineering and from our hard work. But that's not how this is. This isn't that we suffer for the sake of sweetness. It's that our work isn't suffering. And Josie was like, but it's hard. And you get hurt. And their grandparents said, no, that's not suffering. That is doing a loving act. When I take care of the trees, when I climb up even at my old age into those lower branches, I am nurturing and I am loving and I am celebrating my work in this world. Josie thought about it for a bit and tried on a few of the cliches. Well, the work is hard, but the orange juice is sweet. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. And their grandma was like, no, you're not getting it. So Josie thought and thought and thought, was trying to figure it out, and realized that the point wasn't the orange juice. The point of all of the work wasn't the end product. It was having a family that worked together. It was having a planet that worked together. It was being able to spend the days among the trees, giving your body to doing something that felt good and that was real and that had honor and dignity in it. Didn't make the oranges taste any sweeter. Wasn't a silver lining in a cloud. It was just the chance to be full and real and know that there's a balance. Those thorns are part of it, as is the smell of orange blossoms. It's a nice story, right? It's okay. It's a lie. We know what the reality of orange harvesters and people working in our groves are. Oftentimes their lives aren't choices. But it would be amazing if they were. And it would be amazing if we didn't have to say to people, well, at least your suffering got me some great orange juice. And instead we could say, I'm so glad you get to work and spend your life and your days and those tears in your skin in something that fulfills you. Because that sweet, that sour, that sharp, that wonderful is all part of it. And we can celebrate it or we can scorn it. Thank you all. Remember, you are so very loved and so very powerful.
Each one is better than the last. Beautiful. It is the time when we come together as a community to share our joys and sorrows, our orange blossoms and our thorns, our sweets and our sours. Being together, it is good to share, to support each other, and to connect. Our folks on Zoom, please feel free to enter any joys and sorrows in the chat, and if you could put your name at the beginning. Those of you who are here in person, we have a table in the back. Feel free to write your joys and sorrows next week to share. Of course, I left them over here. All right. And I want to start by just acknowledging some of the joys and sorrows that are present in our larger community. It's been a week. It's been a week, and we have seen our fifth principle in action, the use of the democratic process. I recognize that each of us may be holding joys and sorrows and anticipations as we've been watching the election results roll in and anticipating the final tallies here in Arizona. In place of reading any individual joys and sorrows related to the election this week, I want to offer this: our gratitude for everyone who has served in any capacity to mobilize and educate voters, for our poll workers, and for those who are diligently working to count our ballots. Our excitement over the power of people coming together to uphold reproductive rights, voting rights, economic justice, and abolition around the country. Our anticipation and all of the emotions that come with it as we await the final results on ballot measures and candidates here in Arizona. And our continued action to hold all of our elected officials accountable each day as we move forward. So I'll just invite us to take a couple deep breaths as we hold that and prepare ourselves for the joys and sorrows of our community. I'll start by sharing some joys and sorrows that are coming in via Zoom. Amy Miskell shares a sorrow. My dear friend Christine will begin home hospice care for her mother this week. Please keep them in your thoughts, hoping for a peaceful transition for her mom. Amy, we will do that. Nancy shares a joy to be sharing today's service with a new friend while we both watch online. Welcome, Nancy, and welcome to your friend. Karen Kurtz is asking for positive thoughts and prayers for her mom, Trudy, who is undergoing a heart procedure next Thursday in preparation for an aortic valve replacement surgery in the near future. Karen, you and your mom are in our thoughts. And in person, Sam Kirkland has shared a sorrow on behalf of Michelle Morgan, that Michelle was shocked and saddened to find out that 4 of her colleagues have passed over the past year. It's an incredible amount of loss, and we're holding Michelle and her colleagues, families, and loved ones in our hearts. Peyton shares a joy within my week, one I am sure is shared by many of my like-minded friends. So echoing some of what we shared during that opening, the rights of folks that have been upheld. And I'm also going to share on behalf of our whole community a sorrow that Danny, our AV comrade, was injured on a gig last night due to a faulty stage. He is recovering and there are no immediate dangerous injuries, but was in the hospital overnight. So please do keep Danny in your thoughts. What a shocking experience to have, and hoping that all is well. And as we hold in our hearts all that's been shared and all that remains close to us and not shared out loud, I invite us all to share a little love with each other by sharing hearts to those of us who are joining by Zoom and those of us here in person, a moment together. All right, thank you. And now Reverend Patrice will lead us in our meditation.
I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. We will breathe together, followed by a short prayer and silence. And now please find your center. Rest into the seat the floor. Gather your spirit and your energy from all the places that you've been this week and give yourself the gift of being fully present here. For a brief time, let us just breathe together. Notice your breath moving through your body. And one more breath. Will you pray with me? Spirit of life, God, constant and compassionate universe, we have gathered here to be together online and in this room to remember that we are kinfolk. We have gathered here to gaze into one another's eyes, to see one another's faces, to hear the music of our ears and of our souls, to feel our beating hearts, to breathe in peace and breathe out hardship. We have gathered here to enliven our self-compassion, our empathy for others, and to lay down our burdens for a time. Be with the Spirit of life, compassionate universe, be with us in the silence that follows, and let us know that we are held in love. Ashe, namaste.
What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment we live? What's it all about when you sort it out, Alfie? Are we meant to take more than we give? Or are we meant to be kind? And if only fools are kind, Alfie, then I guess it is wise to be cruel. And if life becomes only to the strong, Alfie, what will you lend on an old golden rule? As sure as I believe there's a heaven above, I know there's something much more, something even non-believers can believe in. I believe in love, Alfie. Without true love, we just exist, Alfie, until we find the love we I missed when nothing I feel. When you walk, let your heart lead the way, and you'll find love any day. I'll be.
Thank you. Today, Reverend Patrice will be reflecting on finding the sweet in the sour. I'm going to sidestep the obvious sweet and sour topic for this week and instead share about my sweet and sour relationship with Arizona as a whole. I know, big. This Halloween marked my 8-year anniversary of living in Arizona. External factors motivated my move, but I've chosen to stay based on my own internal compass. My family and many very dear friends live on the East Coast, and being far away from them has by far been the most sour part of living here for me. I also struggle through the summers and feel deep angst about our political landscape and so much more. And yet, I've built a life that I love here, that I'm not ready to leave. I made a list on my Arizonaversary last week of the ways I wanted to celebrate that uniquely reflect the life that I've created for myself here, and I'll share a few of them with you today. Take a hike, come to service here at UUCP, practice yoga outside, savor a cup of prickly pear chai tea, and spend time with some dear friends. And I will say that since Halloween, I've been able to check off everything on that list, mainly thanks to all of you. I joined the UUCP outdoor group for a hike yesterday morning that incidentally was on one of my favorite trails. I had the chance to spend time with several close friends I've made here at UUCP, and I even had tea with one of them, so I got to check that one off. And I'm here with you all for service this morning after doing yoga in the McDowell Preserve. So as I reflect on the hardest and best parts of being here, it all comes down to the people. I hate being far from my family, and I love my community here. Being so far away from my loved ones was, in fact, the motivating factor for creating a community of beloveds here at UUCP for me. I can't begin to express my gratitude for the ways this community brings the sweet to my life on weeks like this and always. Thank you.
Amy, I think it's time for a new list, an Arizona list. Now that you've finished all of those.
Yes.
This is a very small part of an essay called 5 Offerings of Gratitude by Allison Hawthorne Deming. She writes, whenever I fly back home to Tucson, I am stunned by the view over the jet's wing. Desiccated terrain spans out, brown and stark. Pathways and deltas where water once flowed look like scars running down slopes. Brown land, nothing green in sight. It is a landscape that might make one ask, do we belong here? What must we do to be at home in such barren terrain? But of course, for at least 10,000 years, people have belonged to this desert place. They have tended it and abused it, made it flower and let it lie fallow, used its very dirt to build pots and ovens and homes and garden walls. People have matched the desert's inventiveness and skill at surviving extremity. By the time the Jetland, Saguaros, Cholas, and Ocotillos have raised up their hands in greeting, life in all its entanglements is abundant in the desert, an abundance hard-earned in time-crafted adaptations. One of my new favorite dishes is roasted broccoli and onions. It's a straightforward dish I discovered while in Portland for a few weeks in preparation for our last General Assembly. It's relatively easy to prepare, I turned out, needing just Himalayan salt, pepper, olive oil, and a hot oven at about 450 degrees. And when I cook it correctly, it comes out perfectly. The onions caramelized, the broccoli soft and slightly sweet. I adore the smell of onions cooking in oil or butter, turning a soft brown as they caramelize, some magical alchemy that makes onions sweet on my tongue. Mi esposa, my wife, Nancy, can depend on me popping into the kitchen when she is browning onions, and of course, getting in her way. Of course, onions can bring a bit of misery, can't they, when we are preparing them. When we cut into a juicy onion, microscopic droplets float into the air. Slicing through an onion damages the cells, causing enzymes and other substances that are normally kept apart to spill out and react with one another. The result is a sulfur-containing chemical that I will not try to pronounce, but it resembles tear gas. Yeah. When this chemical meets the water in our eyes, it forms an irritating acid. And I, perhaps like you, have chopped up an onion with my eyes streaming, tears running down my cheeks and puddling in the corners of my mouth. Those tears caused by an onion are made from our body's salt and water. They serve the purpose of flushing an irritant out of our eyes, in this case, sulfur. They are different from the tears we cry when we are emotional, sad, upset, angry, joyful, ecstatic, for example. Tears we cry when we are emotional have an additional ingredient, a protein. Scientists think that when this protein is present, it marks tears as helping to flush out the body's response to strong emotions. Our Unitarian Universalist theologies rest upon the principle that this human reality is an interconnected web of life. We are intertwined with onions. We are intertwined with a saguaro, an ocotillo, and the gila woodpecker that roosts in a saguaro, carving out a hole. It is not a web in which we can extract ourselves. We are indubitably, inextricably bound in sickness and in health, in joy and in sorrow. We must pluck the onion from its underground home, and when we chop it, we are cutting through cells. That might make you tear. Amy mentioned the elections, and you may have had moments of tearing up during this seemingly long election season. Those tears may have come from frustration, anger, deep despondency, fear. You may have felt like your very life and the life of your family and your friends have been under attack. How do we move through something like the election season, wearing our hopes and our dreams for our lives on our sleeves when we face a headwind of indifference stoked by an active wish in some that we've been denied the right to vote? How do we participate on Election Day knowing that a politician wishes to control our state but is not interested in representing our desires, and that they represent people with money whose orientation is towards self-interest and perhaps do not even live in our neighborhoods? How do we carry on when they refuse to give us a courtesy of listening to our hopes and aspirations of our own lives? These were the questions that seized me in these past months. Our election process in places has become uncivil. I try not to listen or to watch the political ads or look at every road sign because so many were mean-spirited or perpetuated lies, not backed by reason or science. You might remember a time when standing in line to vote might have meant exchanging pleasantries with the people around you. Now, one is not sure how the conversation will go. Over our lifetime, our signatures change ever so slightly year over year until they can look quite different from our 20s to our 80s. But typically, a span of 2 years ought not make a difference. But as I signed my ballot envelope, I worried that someone may decide that my signature did not exactly match the one on file, and my ballot would be discounted. What a terrible thought to have. What a terrible place to be in, worried that you will be sliced out of the democratic process, sliced out of having a say, sliced out of anyone listening to you, even on a piece of paper called a ballot. Intimidation by voters at early voting stations and at drop-off boxes was met with court challenges. Hypervigilance was necessary in our state and helped stem attempts to keep voters from participating. Whew. And yet there was something that I did. On Tuesday, I was a poll monitor, part of a 2-person de-escalation safety team, long name, in Maricopa County. We were a nonpartisan team there strictly for the voters, to help them if necessary, to be a calming presence, to intervene if tension flared, to listen if something was amiss, and to report it to a national organization monitoring elections across the United States. I never thought that I would be doing this here in my country. I have been a poll monitor in places like Haiti, in places like Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Serbia for the United Nations. You could not have told me that I would need to do that in my own country. As you've probably heard or read, there were problems right here in our own county, some of which I and my partner reported. Ballot machines failed in 2 of the 17 voting sites that we were monitoring. Voters stood in line, filled out their ballots, only to have machines reject them. Not all ballots, but indiscriminately, with no pattern. So no voter knew whether they were standing in line, and it would be a waste. People were upset, but we were there to witness it and to report it. Eventually, many such reports resulted in a statement from the Secretary of Elections that told voters what to do if they found themselves in such a situation. Nonetheless, despite the difficulties, poll monitors across the greater Phoenix area and in several states such as Georgia and Pennsylvania passed out water and joy and engaged those bent on intimidation and passed out the truth to counter rumors. Despite sour attempts to counter unhindered participation, voters prevailed. Many of us have felt uncomfortable during this election season. We are holding our breath as we wait the full election results. We know crying from an onion is not the same as expressing emotions through crying. Stress and anxiety and trauma write themselves on our bodies, and you may still be holding some of this season. So I want to offer a gift to our bodies this morning. As you are willing and able, please stretch your arms above your head. Clench and unclench your hands. Imagine the stress and the anxiety flowing out of your palms up and being changed by Mother Earth and Father Sky. Be sure not to bump into your neighbor. I think we're doing well. Stretch your arms and your legs, clench and unclench your toes. Oh, doesn't that feel good? Breathe, open your chest and take in the air, oxygen. Acknowledge as you do this your sadness and your grief, your fear, if you are a person of color, particularly your despair, your disappointment, your inability to control the outcome of Tuesday. Shake your hands down. Acknowledging our shock and sadness can help us move through. I invite you now to turn to any joy, any sweetness you can draw from the results so far. Or perhaps it was that you voted with ease. Maybe it's for the joy of our young generation who turned up and showed up. Yes, yes. I watched a poll worker take a picture of 3 friends who were voting for the first time, and they were just thrilled to be there and were fierce in their desire to cast their ballot. Glimmers of joy, glimmers of hope that those who want to keep us from voting, to control who gets to vote, seem to have been turned away. As wise ancestors teach us, the path of spiritual growth and religious maturity means we grapple with who and what is pleasurable and who and what is less so. It appears to be a condition of life. In the interconnected web of life, we do not get to choose what life is included and who and what is not, the sweet and the sour. While I do not believe that suffering is necessary, I do believe that I am not enlightened enough to avoid it. And that, like choosing to chop an onion, sometimes I am choosing a condition that brings me discomfort. And whether you prefer sour over sweet or sweet over sour, together they remind us to be aware of the fullness of life. I leave you with one more short vignette, this from my childhood. My grandparents owned 40 acres in Upper Michigan, and yes, that was a nod to 40 acres and a mule. It was native forest that backed right up onto federal land. It was rich with animal life. It was wild, and for a child, whew, frogs and toads and a bear, yes. Bats, all sorts of wonderful life. And my grandparents managed to carve out about an acre for a cabin and for a little garden. My grandmother had a green thumb. My family and I spent many happy weeks during summer vacation at that cabin. A particular memory still brings me joy, and that is my amazement at the first taste of onions grown by my grandmother in that small garden. One day we went out and we dug them up. She cooked them that day with green beans that were also freshly picked. Sauteing them all together, I can still remember the smell and that taste. I think it was perhaps one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten because it is still so real to me. It was an experience I will always remember, even as an adult, as I cry my way through chopping another onion. Namaste.
Please sing with me if you feel it. Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs. There you were. With sweet love and devotion, deeply touching my emotions. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. How sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I close my eyes at night and wondering what would I be without you in my life. Everything was just a bore. All the things I did, it seems I'd done them more. With a little love and emotion, deeply touching my emotions. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Oh, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Take it, Nicole Pesci. You were better to me than I was to myself. Oh, for me there is nobody else. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. Yeah. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Whoa, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Right in the middle. How sweet it is to be loved by you. See if you can sing it. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Sounds good, everybody. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Thank you. You're hired.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Immediately following service, we will have coffee hour, one online and one outside. Please be masked in the Johnson room. If you're outside, masks are optional. Please come and visit with the board about our Share the Plate program and about our values as they relate to generosity this Sunday during online coffee hour after service. The link is in the chat. Our online coffee hour will be a board chat. Let us go forth into this beautiful day with brief words from May Sarton. Spirit of life and love, help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness, nothing comes to birth, as without light, nothing flowers. Go in peace and go in love.